Hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 89 of How Do You Write? I'm Rachael Herron. So glad that you're here with me today. I'm recording on May 23rd, 2018. And today I have a delightful interview with my friend Emilia Zeeland. She reached out to me on Twitter. We became friends. Connections, y'all. So fun. Social media is wonderful. And she lives in Barcelona. And when I was there in March, we got together for coffee and had a marvelous time. I think she's exactly who I wish I had been at her age. She's vibrant, she's funny, she's smart, and she's really, really dedicated to writing and to the craft and to getting it done. You're going to love listening to her. She is a delight and a breath of fresh air. So look forward to that. In just a quick personal update, my thriller is done again after several more small revisions. My agent is on it. She is always right. And on Monday Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend, it will be on submission. So keep your fingers crossed. I have not been on submission in years for traditional publishing, I realized. Not since we took out, holy cow, was it Pack Up the Moon? That was probably the last time I was on submission, because since then, all of my upmarket women's fiction books were sold to Penguin on really brief proposal. So didn't take it out anywhere else. That's interesting. No wonder I'm nervous about this. It's been years. It's been at least 4 years. Maybe 4.5. I can't do the math. So that is exciting. I love being on submission. To me, it feels it feels very much like the feeling I get when I buy a lottery ticket, which is almost never. I like to buy lottery tickets when the lottery is at like 400 million or something like that, and then usually we will buy one or two. And I don't even remember to check the numbers most of the time. It's just the feeling of driving away from the drugstore with the tickets, and Lala and I always play the game. Play the game. If we bought those tickets, we play the game. What would we do if we won? What would we do first? What would we do second? What would be the biggest thing that we would buy? What would be the biggest change? What would be the things we don't change? And it's just such a fun game. So when you're out on submission, most likely, if I sell a book at this point in my career as a mid-list author, I'll make, I don't even want to say what I'll make, because I literally have no idea. Let's call it between 10,000 and 30,000. But what if this is the lottery question that I ask myself when I'm driving around in my car? What if this is the one that goes to auction and that everybody wants and will fight to have? And it's a silly dream, but it happens, I think, to every author. I think I have admitted on this show before that when my first book came out in 2010, I couldn't help but wonder if it would hit the New York Times bestseller list. And that must just say something about my naturally optimistic attitude, because of course it didn't, it couldn't. But I wasn't disappointed. It's just fun to hope. I'm not disappointed when I don't win the lottery. I just enjoy the hoping of it. And in the meantime, I'm just trying to figure out what steps to take next. I am writing the third Ballard Brothers book. I am in the process of plotting that. I'm balancing a bunch of other projects. And actually, this morning I was concentrating on doing this brain dump, basically onto a piece of paper. I use a bunch of applications to help me keep focus of what I'm doing. I really like OmniFocus, although it's not a cheap program to buy the first time you buy it. But sometimes print on a computer, it all kind of blends together and nothing looks important. Whereas if I write it out in my notebook and I put stars on it and, big arrows and lightning bolts for the things I really need to get done, it helps me see them better. So right now I'm kind of planning out the rest of the year. I need to be looking at marketing plans, self-publishing plans, teaching, some classes that I want to do online and offer. So, as well as all the writing. So there's just a lot to juggle. So I've been doing that. I'm enjoying it. I'm in kind of a really great mood. So I've been running again, which feels surprisingly awesome. I'm just doing couch to 5K. I'm only in week 3. And and for me, those weeks usually last a week and a half or 2 weeks because I don't run every other day. I run every other day or every 2 days, every 3 days. So it takes a little bit longer for me to get through. But I had forgotten how much I like using my body that way and how good yoga feels after you run. Oh my God, you're all like warmed up. I'm just so much more bendy after running. It's so cool. It feels really good. I like being in my body. So that is cool. And otherwise, I'm just keeping on, doing the work. And I hope that you are too. I hope that no matter how busy you are carving out 15, 20 minutes a day to write in some place, in some form. Emilia talks about writing on her phone. I know you got your phone with you, and I know you got 15 minutes somewhere in your day to do this. If it's on a commute, you can do voice to text, things like that. So I encourage you to do that. Get a little writing done. Tell me about it when you do. And thank you so much for being here and for listening. It really means the world to me. Well, I could not be more pleased to welcome my friend Emilia to the show. Hello, Emilia.
Hi, Rachel. How are you doing?
I'm so glad to see you. I haven't seen you since Barcelona when we met in person.
Yes, that was so great. Thank you so much for agreeing to have a coffee with me. It
Oh,
was just a Twitter conversation we were
yep.
having, and just when I heard that you're coming to Barcelona, I couldn't help myself. I had to invite you out for a coffee.
And my life was greatly helped by that. Seriously, you are just wonderful. And I want to give you a little introduction to people who might not know you yet. Emilia Zeeland is a young adult sci-fi writer and the author of the Star Academy series. The first is called The Unsound Theory, and the second one actually will be available tomorrow as this goes live, and it's called The Truth Hunters. Even though she holds an international business degree and 2 masters, and works full-time, I know, like incredibly, overtime. Zealand's heart is full of love for speculative fiction. Her own stories include coming-of-age tales, detailed worlds, unimaginable consequences, deep friendships, and romances that sneak up on you. Behind the Emilia Zeeland pseudonym, M, as her friends call her, speaks 6 languages, loves to try on, and sadly also buy dresses, and is a bit of a foodie. So welcome!
Hi, welcome.
Are you
Thank
so
you.
excited about your book being available tomorrow?
I am so excited because, second book, it just feels like a completely different milestone. Like that first book, you feel like, okay, wow, I made it. But when you make the second one, you're like, now I'm for real. Okay, now I know I can continue with this.
I love that. That's really true because a lot of people do have the very serious second book blues. That it's just so hard to write and so hard to believe in yourself. So putting it out means that you're
Oh.
getting over that hump already. Ready for book
Absolutely,
3.
it's great. And it's like a mark, your series is 2/3 done. If you do like 3 books
Yes.
like me, then it's just like the biggest part of the journey is done, and that just gets me so excited.
So awesome. Well, tell us about your writing process because you are in an awesome city, you have tons of friends, you're young, and you work a lot at an important job. When do you get writing done and where? And tell us all of that.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I think I'm going to be very different from most of your guests because I keep hearing on the podcast, everybody's like, write every day, have your process, like do this thing every day or that other thing every day. And for me, the only thing that really has worked so far, it's just batch writing. I just put it all together, maybe over the weekend, especially over long weekends when I have like 3 or 4 days off work. That's
Mm-hmm.
when I get a lot done. And I just take vacations like for the past, and this year is going to be the second year where I take almost all of my vacations out at the country house in my home in Bulgaria, and I stay there and I'm just have my laptop and internet access, and I have nothing on the agenda but writing.
Is your family at the country house too, or is it just you?
Yeah, they're there as well. But
Okay.
they're
But do
used
they
to
stay
me
away
just
from you?
typing
Okay,
away. Yeah,
good.
they come and interrupt once in a while, but then I'm like, okay, I have something here.
So when you're doing this batch writing, how because this is something that is foreign to me. How long do you write at a time during the day? How long is your brain good
Oh,
for?
it really differs. So the thing that really helps me is just knowing that I have my version of all the time in the world. So I could never really have all the time in the world. But if I believe that I have these few days and there is nothing on the agenda but writing, and I know that's a luxury for a lot of people, but I really do have few of these days,
Mm-hmm.
but I really need to keep them clear of anything else. And then it just, I don't know, it gets me going. Then I don't know, the flow goes fast and I can do up to 8,000 more or less words per day. Yeah, but I mean, that's on the week off that I have. And
Yeah, but
then,
that's
it
amazing.
has to be like a third of a novel because I wouldn't be able to
During
get the
that
time
week.
anywhere else. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's more or less how it works. I do try to write a little bit on my commute to work because I have a train ride. So if I can get a seat, I usually try to just focus a little bit, and I write on my phone because I find that just having a different device in your hands, also like switching things up a little bit, it
Mm.
makes me, I don't know, like it gets me out of I don't know if you've been having a little bit of a block, like it's a nice way to break the habit. So I do that sometimes as well, but it can only work for like less emotional scenes. I try
Oh,
to
that
do
makes
like
sense.
emotional scenes and it's all over the place. Like I need to rewrite it completely afterwards. It doesn't flow very, logically the entire thing. If I had to interrupt and, change trains and things like that, it just doesn't work out that great.
Now, are you thumb typing or are you voice typing? Probably not voice typing when you're on the phone. I
No,
mean, when you're on
no,
the train.
it's Spain. Everything's very loud in here. It would not be a great idea to talk into it. But I do want to try dictation at the country house. Actually, this June, I'm gonna try dictation and like hit a 10K per day. But let's see.
Did
Um,
you see? Did you happen to see my Twitter storm the other day of this new tip that I came up with? I didn't come up
oh
with it. I
no, I
I
haven't
heard
seen
it.
it.
I heard it at RWA, and I wanted to mention it on the podcast because it really worked for me. I had been doing Dragon dictation, and I had bought a really cheap PC because the Dragon on PC is better than the Dragon on Mac. And then you can upload voice recordings on your phone, and then later transcribe them, which was just this pain of a method. But somebody at this meeting that I went to said that you can, if you record a voice recording on your phone and then upload it into Chrome, the Chrome browser in Google Documents has a voice listening thing, a voice activated thing. So if you can, this is long and rambly, but if you can
No,
upload
that's
your
great.
upload your voice recording and then play it back while the Google Docs is open with the voice typing command working, then you can transcribe that way and it's free. You don't need Dragon. And I did it the other day and it was great.
Right. Okay. I will be definitely trying that out. I think that like the options are not only going to be more and more in the future,
I think
right?
so too.
So yeah, we have to keep trying on that. But I think I'm just gonna try to get used to speaking rather than typing. And let's see how that goes in June. I'll keep you posted.
Let me know how it goes because it does really
Yeah.
it feels different to me and I wish it would feel the same, but it still feels different.
No,
So,
I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah. So let's see how that goes. But I think that it could be really nice if I have something very light to do in the same time. Maybe just treadmill walking, like really,
mhm.
really slowly, just to kind of feel like I'm not just sitting there holding a recorder and being like, okay, come up with the next great sentence. And it better be like the same as if you would have just written it down.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, well, tell me how that goes. Tell me how that goes for you. I will be
Yeah,
very
let's
curious.
see.
Cool.
I'll keep you posted.
So, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to writing?
Okay, my talent, and it's probably again very different from what you might have heard from
I'm
other
so
guests. I
glad.
I just struggle so much with describing the setting. It's
Mm,
really difficult for me. And you know where it comes from. Like I sat down one day and I was like, why am I just struggling with this so much? Like I'm a writer. I should just be getting, with all these words, just having them naturally. But the problem is that I don't think I enjoyed description, especially big description paragraphs in novels. I just glance over it. And I will admit, even when I was reading Harry Potter, when there was a description paragraph, I actually just glanced over it. I didn't even read it. So it's something that I don't know. My mind just likes to make the picture and not read about the picture, and that's why it doesn't also like to write the picture.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a challenge for me, but I think the way to do it, and I've read a book. I have to give you a reference maybe if you want to put in the show notes later. But I read this book that actually quite helped me with that, and where you kind of just break the setting details in small pieces and you insert them like here and there. So it's not like a big description paragraph, like the room looked like this and the lighting was like that, and it's just the light reflected in the characters' hair or something, and
Yes.
just like small details here and there. That's like more fun, and I could do that on an editing pass and just add like few things here and there. And that's kind of the way that I'm trying to cheat on that.
That's kind of exactly what I do. I've never heard it described like that, but I'm also like that. I hate a paragraph or half a paragraph of setting, and I almost always skip it. I remember particularly the Anne of Green Gables books. Did you ever read those?
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
did. I was so young though.
Ellen Montgomery writes she just loved writing setting, and you could have like a page or 2 pages of just description of the flowers, and I was just like, no, even though I loved those books, but I couldn't do it. So I think that's a really valuable method. I think that
Yeah.
completely works.
You know, a page description of flowers in my eyes gets reduced to the flowers were colorful,
Exactly, there
or
were
something like,
flowers.
yeah,
Period.
the colorful flowers did blah, 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 moved in the wind. Okay, done.
Exactly. What is your biggest joy in writing?
I really just like having written, you know.
Amen.
Honestly, I love that. Just the moment when you finish a particularly like emotionally draining scene or a fight scene that's not necessarily emotion, well, apart from let's say fear and adrenaline and so on, but it's not as let's say a sad emotion. But yeah, when you finish like a big scene that's been complex for you to write, I don't know, I just feel like high fives all around.
How do you celebrate that? Do you talk to somebody about it, or do you just like kind of feel it in your gut?
So you know this about me, but I used to be a closeted writer until like pretty
Yes.
recently. So I used to just be like, "Hey, well done, Emilia. That was it," like a self pat on the back. But I do have my sister to kind of just quickly text about stuff like that, and she's been very supportive. She's my star. And yeah, now I'm telling my flatmates that I live with also whenever I finish something. And now when I have 2 books finished, so we've done dinners with my flatmates for each of the books. Like for the second book, we're doing a dinner on the weekend just to kind of celebrate and yeah, go get some Italian food.
I love that. That's wonderful. And I know that you had to like come out to them and that nobody knew that this was you.
Yeah.
Like you were just somebody who didn't write. They didn't know that at all. I love that you kept that a secret.
Yeah, it was like the creative side of me was just like super hidden. So now it's really it's so
Not
freeing.
anymore. Now you're on the
Yeah.
podcast. Can you
Yeah.
share a quick craft tip of any sort that you enjoy?
A craft tip. So if it comes to storytelling, right? Because I feel that I probably have more to share in terms of storytelling than
Mhm.
just writing. And I really just think the most important thing for me is once you get to know your characters really well, you have to kind of figure out the one thing that is their personal horror, it's their personal nightmare. And you have to find a little way. Maybe it's not the main point of the book, but in some small way, they'll have to get confronted with it. You have to like throw that fear or worst nightmare in their face. Like in my book, in the first book, okay, I have the best friend of the main protagonist, right? She's
Mhm.
called Jen. And she's like the typical sweet girl. She's following all the rules and but I never for 1 second wanted her to be like the character that's just there to make the main character seem like
Right.
prettier and have somebody to talk to about boys. That's not how I wanted her to be. So basically, when all my characters start breaking rules, like it gets established that she's really uncomfortable breaking the rules. And she's the only one that's really uncomfortable in the entire class. She's really uncomfortable breaking the rules. And then, okay, she goes along with the others when they are a group and they break the rule together. But at the very end, she has to not just break a rule, she has to break a law. And it's really important. And only she can do it, nobody else. She's the one that has to do it. And it's just like I put this type of choices not only to the main character, just also to the supporting cast,
I
because
think
that's what's
wonderful.
gonna, yeah, it's gonna make them interesting. It gives them a soul.
I love that because I'm so anxious and conscious about always bringing my main characters to the brink of facing that horror. But I really don't. I really don't do it that much with my secondary characters, and I love that you do that. And I talk about this a lot in my classes that the reason a lot of us have so much of a hard time with doing this, even to our main characters, or especially to our main characters, is that by and large, all the writers I know, yourself included, we're just nice people. And we love these characters that we build. Our brains actually can't tell the difference between the characters that we make and real people. We respond in our brains with the same kind of attention and reaction as the synapses connect and we think about them. So it's very, very hard to put them through this kind of trauma. And
Yeah, it's true, but I have to say it's really I'm having so much fun with it. Maybe that makes me sound like a bad person, but I just like putting them in this situation and I'm like, what are you gonna do now? Little pretty Jen. Let's see.
I love that. Oh, I wish I could be
Oh,
more like that. I'm always like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. But then I do it
maybe.
anyway.
Yeah, so long as you do it, you're fine, right?
Exactly, exactly. Thank you. That is fantastic. So, when you have self doubt or dark days, how do you handle those days?
Okay, so let's say, I mean, if we're talking about a really dark day, right? So like, let's say I've tried my usual stuff of just, I don't know, procrastinating a tiny bit, allowing myself to procrastinate a tiny bit and returning to it, or like going to the gym or whatever. If I'm really, really blocked and I feel like there is no hope in this universe, honestly, the easiest thing for me to do is just change project. And I
Mm,
know that's probably, I mean, for the folks out there that write one book a month and they really need to like power through it, that's probably sounds like a horrible advice that would just get you distracted and whatnot. But for me, it works so much because I feel like my ideas need to germinate.
mm-hmm.
So if I'm really not ready to write that part of the story yet, instead of sitting there looking at a blank page and getting more and more frustrated, I do the thing that I really love, which is coming up with the story for some project that is not completely developed yet. And I really indulge in that. And honestly, if I let myself just do that, like have more freedom and just do that, most likely I will just realize that the idea is not as developed as the one I'm currently writing. And I'm going to be like, oh God, and I don't know what's the motivation of this character in this scene. It's not like in my other story where I know my main character and what she's
Mm-hmm.
doing and why she's doing it. And I'm like, okay, so why aren't you writing that story? Right, let's go back. So, but I need to have that detour in order to like really accept it. Because I can't, we talked about this, like I'm a rebel. I can't force myself to do anything. So I just need to have freedom in everything. And then the more freedom I have, the more I achieve and the more I actually get back on track.
We had a really interesting conversation about being a rebel, and I am when we talk about Gretchen Rubin's four tendencies. You're a rebel.
Upholder?
I'm an upholder. Yes. So
Right.
if I expect myself to do something, I do it, and even worse, if somebody else expects me to do it, I must do it. Then it becomes the law. I'm basically Jen in your book. Like I cannot break.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
let somebody down. But my wife on the other hand is the rebel, and I just don't understand how you guys work, but we talked about it quite a bit, like setting yourself rules,
Yeah.
saying that, I must get 1,000 words done before I go to work. If you set that rule, you'll immediately break it because you're a rule breaker.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I would feel boxed in and I will resist it and I will just not be able to write that 1,000 words and I'll hold it over my head like, oh, you're a failure because you didn't do this one thing. And it's really not what I want from my writing, it's kind of this self-expression bubble that I have and I want to keep being me in it.
That's so good. And I'm so glad that you are on the show and that other people who might be rebels are hearing that too, that it's a completely valid way of being. And I do recommend the Gretchen Rubin book. Is it called The Four Tendencies?
I think it is.
I
I've
think it
only
is
done
too.
the online test and I've listened to some of the
Yeah.
TED Talk and other things that she's done. I think she was also on she was on a couple of podcasts that were really interesting.
Yeah, she's good. That maybe that's pretty much all you need from the book, honestly. Okay, so speaking of books, what is the best book that you've read recently and why did you love it?
Oh, okay. So, the best book I've probably read, like it was earlier this year. I know I'm coming late to the party, but it was Ready Player One, that lit RPG.
I still haven't read it. I thought I had, but I had it confused with a different book. What did you love about it?
So for me, this is YA at its finest. I know it's defined as lit RPG and yeah, it's defining the genre and people love it for that. And yes, I think it's amazing, but for me, it was just everything that I love seeing in a YA book. It was in there, like very relatable characters, like the everyday guy is the hero. He doesn't own any like he's not special in a sense that maybe like gifted or has magic or anything. He just works really, really hard and he has his priorities, like his heart is in the right place and
Mm.
that's all he has to fight the world.
Mm.
And it's amazing. I don't know, like the characters were so well drafted, so vivid in my head, like absolutely amazing. And the other thing that I really had, really really loved was the tiny hints about how their society is just through the words that they were using, the teen slang that they were using. You could see the futuristic vibe, you could see the struggle of their everyday lives. I don't know, it was perfect. And absolutely characters that had a lot of problems, they were not the perfect, pretty people, they were obese, having a bit of social anxiety, they had so many things going on in their lives and they still came through. So I don't know, it's just beautiful.
I want to read that now. I'm going to put it back on my
Just
list.
so
I think it fell
beautiful.
off my list for a while. Did you see the movie?
I saw the movie, but those aspects, the ones that I love the most that I just described to you, I didn't feel them as strongly in the movie, which is normally what happens, of
Yeah.
course, when you compare a book to a movie, so you probably never should. But yeah, I still enjoyed the movie, but the book was just, I don't know, it just made my heart flutter.
Okay, I'm going to read it and tell you what I think about it.
Oh, I can't wait. And I'm reading your book as well, Fast Draft to Memoir.
Oh, thank you. I hope that you like
Yeah.
it.
It's really good. I'm at the chapter 5, I think, at this point on trust and the
Oh.
memory and so on. It's really interesting so far.
Well,
Love
thank
it.
you. Thank you. I did not pay her to say this, listeners.
Oh,
So-
oh yeah, sorry. Absolutely unbiased opinion.
You're so sweet. Okay, will you tell us again the name of tell us a little bit about the book that's coming out tomorrow.
Oh, okay, okay. So it's called The Truth Hunters, and it's Star Academy Book 2, so the sequel to The Unsound Theory. Basically, well, I don't know what I can tell you without spoiling it, but our main characters, our rule breakers, will basically have to handle the consequences of all the rule breaking they did. And it's going to be tough, there are a lot of consequences, some expected, some unexpected, of all the rule breaking. So they'll kind of have to, lie in the bed that they've made. And yeah, and they'll have to solve some more mysteries because there is always another mystery around the corner, right?
Fabulous. And you have a blog on which you interview writers. Tell us about that.
Oh, okay. So basically, it's a small blog I started in December or November last year, because I got started writing on Wattpad. I don't think we mentioned that in the beginning. Okay, so when I was a closeted writer, I just wanted to write on Wattpad and put my work out there for free. I never thought I would ever charge any money for it. I was just like, I want to be able to tell my story to the world. And I met some lovely people there, and a lot of them are actually trying out self-publishing now a couple of years later, like me, when they've, grown and they've written a couple of books and re-edited them and rewritten them and kind of started to see what it's all about. And I just felt like Wattpad is a really great kind of training wheels for self-publishing because you have to manage an audience, you have to keep them interested, you have to publish regularly, otherwise you fall off people's radar. So I felt like there were a lot of kind of global lessons that are transferable between Wattpad and self-publishing. So I just started asking a few questions. So I do a monthly interview with a Wattpad author that has then moved into self-publishing. And I just hope to inspire some more people from Wattpad to take themselves seriously because a lot of them, I think, are really good writers, writers in the making, and aren't we all, right?
And I love that you said it that it's training wheels. I think that's a great correlation to make. You really are having to deal with reviews and people who don't like it or people who love it or think it's perfect, all of that. So that's really cool.
Yeah,
And
you have to.
where can we find that blog?
Okay, so it's at www.emiliazeeland.com. So that's where you will find all my work in progress, all my news, and the blog, and just, yeah, everything. And you can subscribe to my list if you want to hear more from me.
And fabulous, those covers. You should just go look at those covers. They are
Oh,
insane. They're so
thank you.
good.
My cover designer, she's Kim_G, I think on Instagram, and yeah, and also on my covers, like in the contributors section in my
Mm-hmm.
books, you can find her. And she's amazing, and I absolutely love them, like full of color.
They're beautiful. They're beautiful. Just like you
Oh,
are.
thank
It's
you.
such a treat to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and for being my friend and for being so inspiring. I just love the way that you love to write and that you're passionate about it. And it really gets me excited about this whole process too. So thank you for that. It's a gift.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. Thank you for gathering writers and just, your focus on process. It's just lovely to kind of just listen through the interviews and see what everybody's up to and that we're all kind of together with all these challenges that we face. So it just made me feel so great. Thank you so much for being my friend as well.
Perfect. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.